people here.
Good evening.
There we go.
Welcome to the May 13th, 2021 Charter Revision Commission meeting. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Linda Jardins. Virginia Santiago.
June Gagnon. We need to approve the minutes from May 6, 2021. And you had a chance to look at them? Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Old business. We have no old business, although we did meet with the Board of Selectmen on Monday. And we decided tonight is time for working on our draft report. So I'm going to ask for number one, I put our topics that we moved forward with, I put them in order of how you find them in the charter, so it'll be easy. Section 2(3)(a), shall the date of the annual town meeting be changed to take place after the audit report is finished, but no later than February.
Is the audit always finished by February?
No, that's the problem. That's why we want to change that.
Right, we were
Yeah.
talking about,
That's
wording,
exactly
the
why.
wording on that again is,
The audit is supposed to be finished by December 31st.
And it isn't.
No,
It is.
there into January, then it should be done by then. By February, it should be done.
Right.
I think the question was, should it be the end of February, like the third week, like it was third week in November, right?
Right,
2-3A?
right. It says, be held the third Monday in November.
Oh, third Monday, yeah.
So we wanted to move it to February because
February.
actually the audit report isn't usually done by then.
Right, end of January it should
End
be.
of January, so no later.
so if we put no later than February.
No later than
we should
February.
be-
Does
Which
anyone?
shape you would see.
So the way it's written is fine.
Yeah, I think so.
I agree.
Yeah, I would put it February 1st or February end, like 29th or third
Okay.
Monday of February, or
But no later than the end of February.
yeah, something like that.
Because it says the third Monday in November.
Right, so we would change it to, shall the date of the annual town meeting be changed to take place after the audit report is finished, but no later than the end of February. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the end of February.
So if we're okay with that, we can move on to the next one, section 2(4)(b). Shall the percentage of eligible electors casting ballots at a referendum be changed from 25 to 15%, or even 10%? We had talked about that.
Because Irene said only, what, 100 or 200 people for the referendum? Is that what she was saying?
Yeah.
That is so sad. 10% just sounds so low. But
We have like 10,000 registered voters roughly.
You have those figures? How much she said?
Yeah, it was like 10,000. It's in my box here. Just have to get it out.
It's quite a bit written here. I just kind of summarized it.
Come on, look. In the bottom of the box. Here we go.
The filing system.
I need to file
Before
that.
to a filing
My
cabinet.
box is falling apart here, I think. All right, I think I might even have, let's see.
So we're all on page 2, right?
Oh, it's-
2(4)(b).
Yeah.
We
So-
have to just insert, are we going to just insert?
So if we did 10%, of 10,000. That's still, that's 1,000,
And how many voters did she have
like 10,000.
last time? You have it.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah, like total voters.
Oh, these are registered voters.
Yeah, registered voters.
10,231. And last time we had how many voters?
9,561. We got like 670 new voters in the, like the presidential election thing. And then she said they switch, like, a few people move out, so sometimes it's like a couple off for that. Because I went and got new numbers, I said, my numbers were up. She said, well, no, that's normal, she said, so.
Yeah, because they fluctuate
Yeah,
somehow.
right,
Yes,
that's
you're
what
right.
she said,
Every
so.
year there's new voters, there's
Right,
voters leave.
some people move and stuff like that, so the referendum numbers were a little different than what she had given.
And she said it was, what percentage? Did you see the numbers? What percentage?
She said like 100, 200 people came. So even 10% of 10,000 is 1,000 voters. So there, I mean, so this 25% that we had was like, wow.
Oh, yes.
So,
So to reduce it, we're just going down to 15% and down to 10.
or even 10, I mean,
Even 10. But,
it seems so,
yeah,
but still, 10% is 1,000 voters.
so if less than 25% of the eligible voters cast ballots, the subsequent balloting of the budget should be at a town meeting. So if it doesn't pass, is that what you're saying?
Is that right here?
Yeah, page
That's
2. This is 2-4B. It's a lot. But we're proposing to change at least the 25% to 10% before you have to vote.
I think
Yeah, I think we should.
10%.
10, so let's go to 10% then.
Yep.
All right. And it pretty much will be worded the same, except,
Lynn, did you say how many came at the last annual budget meeting, or?
Irene was saying something about like 100 or 200 people voted in the referendum or something.
That wasn't a referendum for the budget, though.
No, not for the budget referendum, just the last referendum, she said, because we were
Right.
asking her for like a, a ballpark of how many people show up at all for a referendum.
Yeah.
So, and she said like if there's no budget, no mill increase, she said.
Right, that's different,
Nobody
yeah.
comes to like fight it or that, so we don't get a lot for that.
so Monday we should see. the
Yeah.
vote.
Yeah,
Monday,
This
yeah.
will be interesting.
Now, that's in person now.
Yes.
That's not a
Yeah.
ballot.
Now, that's just
No.
12 to 8, because it's a referendum?
Oh,
No,
we
this
go
is
to-
a
we go to the
town
ballot.
meeting.
It's a
Oh, it's a town meeting?
Yeah, town
Okay.
meeting, that's what
Oh, okay.
Is that because there's no mill increase?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so
It
it's,
becomes a town meeting.
7 o'clock.
Last year, it was different because of COVID,
yeah.
right?
The Board of Selectmen had permission to pass it if it was 0 mil last
Yeah,
year.
they could pass
So the
it.
Board of Selectmen passed it.
All right, so,
Yeah.
They gave some special orders from Hartford.
all right, so,
Lenient.
so 10% on that
10%.
one.
I had 10 on that. And that would lead us to our next stone.
Yep, 2.5B. Moving right
I was going to ask Roz to read her
along. Oh, the
findings again, because it really, I like the way it was worded.
worded.
So maybe you, yeah. So you're all set on that, I'll wait until you. Actually, we're not on the polling places yet, I'm sorry.
No, we're not.
We're at
We're still on
2.5B.
2.5B, yeah.
I skipped,
We skipped. You're anxious to get to that one.
yeah. That's the most exciting one to me, is changing that, because it saves a lot on meetings.
And that's why I brought it up, and I had
Yes.
Irene come when we had the other
Yes,
charter commission, and I
yeah,
thought it was important.
yes,
So,
it seemed like everyone, was right in tune with that.
yeah.
So we're going to change any recommendation by the Board of Selectmen or Board of Education and approved by the Board of Finance, any resolution for non-budgeted appropriation of an amount more than $50,000,
Yep.
but no more than $100,000.
$100,000 max.
I think
Right, right, we shouldn't have to change anything.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's just the numbers, not much.
You might want to check on that one, because that's two sentences you have to
Yes,
change.
we do have to change it below.
Right,
too.
there's below it too, there's, yeah.
After recommendation by the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education and approved by the Board of Finance, any resolution for any non-budgeted appropriation of more than, it says 50,000, so that one should be changed too, to 100,000.
Mhm. Yep.
Right,
Shall be placed on the call of the town meeting, so if it's over $100,000,
it has to be.
You-
vote on that.
You might want to ask Kevin about that one,
Okay,
and see if that's two revisions, or if it's one.
okay,
I don't know.
all right. Well, it is B, it's all under B.
Yeah, there's probably one then.
Yeah,
We'll
You
ask.
have to figure out how to word it. That might be a lengthy one then.
I know, I'm thinking just plug in the number changes, but now you go down to D.
yeah.
Gosh, did you go down to D?
B, with the 50,000.
Right, you don't have to
First and 100,000.
be in the capital.
All right, so now we're on which one?
We're still on B, but I'm looking down below at D, and for some reason I saw another number. Any national application by the town for state or federal grants involving a local financial share estimated to be more than $10,000 in any fiscal year.
What happens there? We have to go to voters.
So that's bringing down from the top, so that we should have
Yes,
to put that
requiring
to
town
50.
meetings.
Yeah, so
So these are all requirements for town meetings, and they're explaining when. But I saw this other 10,000.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
Oh, no, we've got another issue here.
I don't see where we really we haven't really talked about that.
No, we haven't.
But it's basically the same thing, except for it's talking about going for grants.
Grants.
Yes.
10,000 though is awful low.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking, you know.
Right, to have a town meeting.
That's awful.
Maybe that one has to be changed.
Yeah,
Yep.
Well, let's query about that one. That's why we're doing this.
yeah, I think
That under this.
I was thinking at least 50,000.
Exactly.
Right, yeah,
Just like the other one. Before you'd have to go to a town meeting.
Yeah.
yeah.
And the rest doesn't have any kind of number. It just says when you have to have a town meeting. Sale of purchase, okay, this is something we've done recently. In C, it says after recommendation by the Board of Selectmen and approved by the Board of Finance, any sale or purchase of real estate or interest therein. And there have been town meetings for that, to approve the sales of real estate.
No matter what the price.
Right, it has something to do with,
It's just whether people want to get rid of that property or not.
right, the floors of the town.
Or purchase.
Or purchase property.
But yeah.
The town may want to purchase something for, you know,
Yeah.
use,
Yeah.
so. But anyway, I'm comparing that to looking at these number figures, and I think that's the only thing that's out of date is the numbers.
Yes.
So we have to find out if D is included in our changes, if that can be also, oh, do you think 50,000 on that too?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
It seems like it would be logical to,
Well, what you can buy, and we were talking about how many, things, how things have changed, the price of a vehicle and
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
Building materials.
yeah.
Oh, we opened up another, but that's good to find out if that needs to be changed too. We're all set on that for
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And our next one, what's our next one?
That's your voting districts one.
3, 4, voting districts and polling places, which was determined, changed last month. 2018. It was opened up, but it didn't say, voting districts and polling places within the town may be established, consolidated, divided, and/or redivided in the manner provided by the general statutes.
Didn't we?
Yes, it was changed.
But didn't we talk at that last, public hearing about leaving that up to
Or the board is.
Right.
selectmen to determine
Right,
that?
by the board of selectmen in
Yeah.
But it doesn't
conjunction.
say
Yeah.
this. So
Right,
we
right,
need
so
to
that's
add that
what
in,
we're
yeah.
gonna add. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
And the recommendation, this was the one that Roz had brought from Killenly.
Killingly, yeah.
And they did it, the Board of Selectmen made the decision, but it was also determined by the
The
registrar
registrar
of
of
voters.
voters, right.
So we need to put that in there.
So if we put divided or redivided in the manner provided by the general statutes by the board of selectmen in conjunction with the registrar of voters,
Or the recommendation.
or the recommendation of the registrars.
But if they recommend for that particular referendum or how many voters,
Okay, where are we gonna put in?
The 3, 4.
Board of Selectmen?
yeah, voting districts and polling places within the town may be established, consolidated, divided, and/or redivided in the manner provided by the general statutes.
So
I think the added sentence.
Or I was gonna
Like
say
by-
after.
does that make sense?
redivided,
Provided by the general statutes. Voting districts within the
Well, it says in the
town.
manner provided by the general statutes.
Well, that's what they checked on to see what, yeah, as long as we go by the general statutes of.
By the general statutes, do we want to put, the Board of Selectmen can make that choice? I wish I had what Roz had brought.
Redivided in the manner.
We're trying to
provided by
word
the
the
general
polling
statutes.
places and add who makes that decision and,
That would be helpful.
right, it's
Yeah,
kind of
well,
open-ended.
we want it to be the
By the-
Board of Selectmen.
By the board of selectmen,
On the
on
recommendation
the
of the
recommendation,
registrars.
right, on the recommendation of the registrars of voters.
It says by the general statutes, can we just take that out? Or
I can
find
check
out-
with the attorney on which way.
Okay,
Right, the word,
Yeah,
it has to
on the
pass
word.
through the
Well,
attorney
as we
anyway,
would-
everything, right?
Right, everything gets checked anyway, but that
Okay,
means very
so
kind of
by the
specific.
board of selectmen,
Can we
on the recommendation.
not mention the state statute, but still be able to,
Recommendation.
you know,
because it would make a nicer sentence, it would make sense so quickly, you know,
Recommendation, let's see,
of the registrars.
of the registrars.
That was a good change, but it didn't do enough to
That one too.
yeah, that
tell
one's
us what
definitely,
to do.
Yeah, they wrote it down.
oh, good.
June, look down.
And are we adding in the selectmen?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what we hope to do,
And
find out.
they're provided by the general statute.
That's the one you're gonna have to
Yeah,
help them.
just take that out for now in your mind, in the manner provided by, oh yeah, we need that too, but allowing the Board of Selectmen to change, and now we're coming into English problems. If we find out, it's an attorney check, find out how to word it. I'm gonna find out what the general statute is on that. So you've got those notes down?
I've got
Well, we
those.
need to research.
Yeah. Do we have others? Yep, we
Yeah.
do.
4.1B, this one's pretty simple.
Yeah,
I think that's simple.
I think that makes perfect sense.
Right,
Yeah.
so just put a 7 in there.
Right.
I imagine the questions though on the ballot can be worded differently, you don't have to have the exact phrase that you
Well, like you said, everything, I mean, we have to present it to the board of selectmen, they'll have to run it by the attorneys.
Right,
make sure we've
everybody
got
has-
everything worded right, and
Everybody has to have a look at it.
we're saying yes to increasing it to 7, so.
But that one's pretty
That
straightforward.
one was
Yeah, that's an
straightforward,
easy
yeah,
one.
that
I
was.
think, actually, I think that's the way those questions are worded on the ballot. Yeah. Like the first one in 2007 was, shall the Board of Selectmen membership be increased from 3 to 5 members? So they don't put the exact wording of what's going to be in the charter, they just
Oh,
ask.
yep,
We have to ask the question, so it sounds.
right, it has to be
understand it.
asked, right, right,
Shall an additional member be added to the Board of Finance?
Right. yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it doesn't have to appear on here exactly as the charter.
Right, yes, I just wanted to check and make sure on that. Maybe we would word it, increase the membership from 6 to 7 on the Board of Finance. Something like that. So we're all set on that one.
Yeah, that one's pretty
Okay.
good. All right, we have this one.
Section 9.
Each one is
Actually, yeah, we're
she
trying
was
to
in
come
the
up with
book.
language that's going to be in the
Starting
charter
date
as
at
well as,
we'd have to
Figure it out.
when, yeah, no officer or employee of the town, and no elected or appointed board or commission of the town shall employ or appoint to a position of financial gain the spouse, child, parent, brother, or sister of any such officer or employee or any member of any such board or commission.
And we were going to
Well,
add.
We're going to add to the next
Steps, in-laws, and partners.
partners. Bring it to, I know.
Bring it up to
I know.
Yeah.
modern times.
Yes.
That's pretty
Yeah.
easy.
So that one's kind of easy.
Yeah, that one's
really.
easy too.
Yeah. just
So
have
we
to
add,
that. Okay,
It would just follow right after.
I would say,
the
Yes.
chain, right?
right.
Yeah.
I mean, if this is legal too, I mean, we don't know that either, right? We don't know that addition is. There was a question that you had asked today that I wanted to actually ask Kevin in this meeting, I can't remember. We were talking about something having to do with this, but that's okay. It might come to me later. Now we're on the section 10.5. The capital improvements.
that's the one we're confused
This is the
on.
one that we're confused on. It was your suggestion, Kevin.
Sure.
Maybe you can help us
How
out.
to,
with it.
yeah.
Try and
Trying to
work
figure
on
out
this.
How to word it.
If the capital improvements are not passed,
I think that we're talking about putting together the capital improvements in 10.5, and the last thing says, as required by general statutes, all municipal improvements shall be reviewed by planning and zoning, and prior to approval by town meetings. That is fine, but the question really then goes back to section 2, within the 2.4. So if you take a look at 2.4, and I can be generic on it, it talks about passage of the town budget or passage of the Board of Ed budget. If they fail, what actually occurs? But it mentions nothing about capital improvement. My suggestion would be to actually put something in there to say similar language, to say if it fails, it does have to go back to both parties to come up with a more substantial or more in-depth look at the capital improvement items.
So instead of 10.5E, we'd go back to 2.4A?
Yes, because 10.5E really does draft the idea of how, you put together a 5-year capital plan. And I think my intent all along was really saying, well, that's great, but we never, if it fails at let's say Monday night, this coming Monday, we vote positive for 2 of them,
yeah.
but the 5-year capital fails. Well, here it says nothing about what you do with it if it fails.
Right.
I mean, it should have some weight behind it as to what it really is. And I think the importance of it really needs to come forward by saying if it fails, it needs to go back to redrafting by the parties responsible for it. Because in
So
10.5,
the issue didn't you tie it back to the ability to get grant funding?
exactly.
or something?
For the public to understand and know that is important as well. If you are putting together the 5-year capital plan and you come forth with Quinnebog River Valley Trail being $230,000 this year and $230,000 next year, now when you go out to apply for grants, usually one of the questions is, are you currently working on this particular item?
Right.
And if you say, no, we have no intent, we have nothing in the 5-year capital plan for it to happen, well then, why would you be going out for a grant for it?
Right.
Joe Courtney's office, we actually utilized that particular one. And say we have it in our 5-year capital, it's an intention to go forward on it. It's been on there for a few years, but it didn't have a lot of dollar value behind it. Now we're moving that up to this year to say, if we can get it in our budget for the 5-year capital plan, we can now put it in a grant to say we are applying for that application,
Right.
based on the fact that we're actually definitely working on it.
Right.
So it does have some meaning behind it, and I would give you the what if or the hypothetical. Someone comes to the town meeting that we had last week and said, you know what, I think we should start up a dog park. But it's not in your 5-year capital plan, why not? And we have a bunch of people that would walk up to the microphone and say, this is what I'd like to have. Well, now it would be up to us to sit there and modify the 5-year capital plan to include that as one of the items and how much we be able to allocate towards it.
It would be up to the board of selectmen or to the...
Well, in this case, that won't be the Board of Selectmen because it falls underneath that
Yeah.
heading, because it's a town function.
Okay.
If it was, hey, I think we should be doing, just a real hypothetical, but if we were going to do something for the Board of Education, how come you don't have an indoor soccer practice field? Or an indoor multi-purpose field indoors?
Yeah.
And can you consider doing that? Right or wrong, that's their right to say, this is what I'd like to have, can we put it in there, and then you go after grants for it. So that would be something that would behoove the Board of Education to actually put on their side of that list.
Right.
By the way, the same thing would happen to the Water Pollution Control Authority. You're way behind on some of the equipment that you should have been purchasing. Proof is what happened at Storm Isaias. You had 2 generators which failed because they were so old.
Right.
Have you thought about putting more in there, and why don't we see it in the 5-year capital? Now, just so you know, that's exactly what we did for the 5-year capital for the sewer department, is we're putting those things in there. It's going to be part of our budget. So we want to make sure we do it the right way, and then we go out for grants for that if there's any available. Now it's right there.
Right. That makes sense.
So now being the draft report here, where are we plugging this information in?
It should be, in my mind, would be somewhere along the section of 2.4. If you don't mind, I'll try to look for it, and then next meeting, I'll bring it as a draft.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, please do. Because if it's going to make a difference, like the sidewalk grant that didn't come through,
Right.
but you still want to do it, you
Exactly.
gotta keep it on the list.
I mean, for years and years, we've all lived in this town for a long time.
Yeah.
Do we really understand the whole process of the 5-year capital? Not really. It takes a while to figure out a lot of the little details to it. Obviously, I'm going to bring something up, Virginia, that you and I will remember. When we were on the Board of Education years ago, one of the items that was there then, and I think it was around 2000, it was the heating systems for Plainfield Central, Plainfield
Yes.
Memorial.
Yeah.
And we had it in our plan to put that into effect to fix them then.
They're still not
there now.
Yeah.
So we are aggressively going after grants and seeing what might be available from America Cares Act, that in cooperation what we might have available with the general fund, grants available, because those things need to get done. And you can't keep on pushing them down the street. Eventually they have to get done.
Yeah. Yeah, eventually they break in an emergency.
Yep.
I know.
And things get lost in the shuffle.
Yep. If the public has ideas about what they'd like to see, that's, all during the whole process, we'd like to hear it from them. But definitely at the end, when you're looking at what's on your 5-year capital, it's important so they all know what the plan is to move forward.
So we have a pretty good, we've gone over everything, all 7. Now we And I'll work on wording these also, and send it to you, so you can say, hey, maybe I forgot something or whatever.
Now, for the, like, putting the Board of Finance to 7, do we have to tell them how to do that too? Or is that?
No, they'll just plug in the 7.
You just put in the 7
Yeah, sure.
and then they'll figure out what.
And then
Have
one
seven.
more would get elected, right?
Right,
Right.
you'd have to,
Yeah.
and then you'd have to run a special election
For that one
For that
individual.
seventh member.
by November.
We're going to very carefully look at the way that the years of service are staggered, because that one
Right.
needs to
Right.
fit in properly.
If anything, tonight's meeting made me realize too that there's a difference between what goes on the ballot and what's going to be
And
in the
what's,
chart.
right,
So, that's-
right, the wording.
We don't have to worry as
About,
much.
right, about the wording, really.
It's just as long as it's clear to the public what
Right, you want to have it.
we're talking about.
Yeah, we can give them just clear language.
Right,
That's right.
Yeah,
So they can put the
straightforward.
complicated legal stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
In the
in the
chart.
book, right?
Right.
Okay, so,
That's good.
So I think we're.
and yeah, any comments from the public?
Madam Chair, if I might, I'm glad what you said just a second ago about making sure the public is aware of exactly what's going on and what each means.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to post something which will get us to giving more information out to the public. While social media is actually something that we use to help to share that information with, I'd like to propose something where, whether we take snippets of the meetings, especially towards the end, from each of the commission members to say this is why we need to bring this forward, because we feel that this is important to make a change to item number 1 and give a clear understanding of what it is. And that way your commission members can, and I don't mind helping out as well as doing that, but saying what each item is for and why you feel it's important, because these are the changes you think will help structure your charter going forward.
Okay. Yeah, we could do something like that. Sounds good.
We can on camera.
And you already are, so.
Well, you are, but, we'll work on something.
Okay, near the end, okay.
Okay.
To make that.
So, we have another question from
Are you
the
going,
audience.
are you adding the 8th item,
Oh, what was the 8th one?
25D,
25D.
the amount of grant?
Oh, we were going to ask.
We have a question. Yes, we have a question. 25D. No, it's not 25D, is it?
Yeah, 25D, is that the one with $10,000?
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
that
There was another number in there, and we were like concerned
So
that.
do we have to bump that to the 50?
I would think that that would be appropriate to bump it to a 50.
Is that a separate question?
I would check with the attorney on that one.
Okay, we have to find out.
Because if what you're changing is just the dollar values and everything within 2.5,
Yep.
then we might be able to get that with a one question.
I do have it.
Good. Thank you, I'm glad you remembered that.
Thanks,
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
My other one, if you remember me saying, I just want to make sure you remember this one, is on 2-7, A, B, C, Section D, the extra sentence at the end,
Oh,
that needs to be deleted because it's, put in there twice.
And I will check with the attorney on that one about the typo issues.
And I just found another one too, another typo tonight.
This is,
2
oh,
Okay.
okay.
D, there's a repeat of that
Right.
sentence.
You ready for the other typo?
Let's
Okay,
go.
go ahead.
10.5 E, and you'll see the typo as soon as you find 10.5 E, you'll know what the typo is. Do you see it? The E's out of place.
Yeah, it is out of place. I even have it marked with yellow, but not because of that.
Uh,
But I'm looking at it, and it's like, yeah, it's
It's just not lined up properly.
a couple of changes.
Like typos, I mean,
Mm.
it's.
Right.
Just don't want them printed again, like, you know.
Right, yeah, makes sense.
Okay, misprint, you put it under misprint?
Well, I'm hoping that after November, these, whichever ones go through, that this Board of Commission will take the moment or two to look at making sure that everything, before we send it out to print, just
Yes.
eyeball it for us. And
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, yeah, that would be
Yeah.
good to do,
Yeah.
yeah, before it gets
Because
printed.
they might
Yes.
not all pass.
Right,
Right.
and,
well, the
hope
ones
they
that,
do.
yeah, the ones that do, to help with the language, verifying everything looks good, would be helpful. Because you know where they are, and you know what it would look like.
yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, we'll get whatever the attorney has for suggested language and
Yes.
framing of it, and then have you look at that as well.
And maybe replace something.
Well, if I don't have any more questions, I'll entertain a motion to
I
adjourn.
move to adjourn.
Yeah, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.